The Eastern Cape government and the House of Traditional Leaders is calling for the custom of initiation to be banned during the summer season. 20 initiates have died since the beginning of the summer initiation season in the province. Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane led a high-profile delegation comprising of the Health Minister Dr. Zweli Mkhize, the Chairperson of the House of Traditional Leaders, Chief Mwelo Nonkonyane, who visited initiation schools around Ngcobo and Komani regions. We speak now about this issue with the Deputy Minister responsible for Traditional Affairs, Obed Bapela, who joins us now live in studio. DM, good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming through.
Good afternoon to you and your viewers.
And now, here we are once again sitting here talking about initiation, or rather initiates dying in the Eastern Cape province.
I wish it was not like that because each year we have to be coming to you to explain to the nation. Now the current figure is 24 deaths, 22 in the Eastern Cape, 1 Western Cape and 1 Northwest. And 19 of those in the Eastern Cape, they died of dehydration, the lack of water and the heat because it's summer.
Yeah, and part of what I read, sorry DM, just to come in there, when the Premier was there, he was told that they're not allowed to drink water from the day they go into this initiation schools until the last day. How does one even survive a day without water?
Well, we have been raising this issue with the practitioners, particularly those who are initiating these boys, that water is important for the body. Even when you go to hospital, they will put in drips to give you water supply into your body whilst you are lying there in bed. Now, for somebody to come with this myth that for you to be a man, a week before you go in, these boys don't take water. They are told don't drink water for 7 days. By the time they are in, they don't drink water for another 7 days. The body will not survive for 14 days without water, because then there will be mental confusion, renal failures will arise, the electrolyte substance will also be affected. And therefore the body then will then collapse, and then organs will collapse in your body, and then that is why people are dying.
And it takes me back to the point, I think government had committed some time ago that they will be working together with your medical doctors to visit the initiation schools, because if that is indeed happening, I suppose we wouldn't be sitting here and discussing this point.
Definitely. Limpopo is doing it. Mpumalanga is doing it. The death rate has gone to 0.
What about the Eastern Cape?
The
Are
Eastern
they
Cape, they are resisting, unfortunately.
And this is the very same province where initiates die every year. I think you and I were sitting here during the winter season. About 19 boys had died in the Eastern Cape for that particular winter season only?
Well, yeah, it was around 19, if I remember well. But the summer season seems to take more lives. And therefore, that is why the idea of now no longer continuing with initiates in summer. We'll have to engage communities, parents, practitioners, traditional leaders, government, and everybody that let's no longer do it in summer. Global warming is with us. Climate change is here. The heat is terrible. And therefore, let's then take cover with winter, because the wounds heal well in winter than in summer. And therefore, this dehydration that has taken 19 lives just as we speak now, if it was in winter, probably will not be talking about 19 to add to the 22 or 24. So therefore, I think this idea must be taken seriously. I was talking to the MEC of Eastern Cape that a consideration of maybe around March, April, before the winter season begins, we have a big indaba in the Eastern Cape. We then debate this issue and we reach a consensus so that there's no law enforcement then that goes against the culture, but we'll all agree. And once we can have that common agreement, medical doctors coming in, no longer going to initiations in summer, then do the right thing, give the boys the water, whether it's winter or it's summer, because this myth arises from what happened in the past when there were wars of Dimfekanes and when there were wars against colonialism and land dispossessions. The initiation was part of the military training. It's no longer part of the military training. We are now human beings who live in a peaceful atmosphere. The body needs certain fluids that it is to consume and sustain itself. Eating and drinking water is but part, and therefore this we ought to do. But obviously, as the Minister of Health was there yesterday, Zweli Mkhize, Dr. Zweli Mkhize said, one initiates, the mother had to take a certificate of the elder son for the other one who was going in to go and use it so that he can be admitted. And this boy had a heart problem, and then he died. And that is why
so
the figure
parents
is high.
are also to blame in some instances
they are
as well.
being blamed because they are taking these children to illegal schools, to illegal people. Now look now, they are now even using corrupt means just to get these children to go to initiations. Now the child is gone.
It's gone.
And the parent is lost the child. And they will be blaming somebody, and yet it's them as parents who are doing the wrong thing.
All right, so the indaba that you're talking about, you're looking at having that particular indaba around March, April?
We'll have to make it around March, April so that we prepare well for the winter season.
But what happens in the meantime? Lives have already been lost in the Eastern Cape. How do we save the situation for now, during this particular season, dear?
Well, it's already towards the end of the season now, and the figure is 24, unfortunately, and regrettably so. And we just hope it doesn't go up anymore. But majority of them are now have gone through the difficult period, and they are coming out. But we have almost over 300 of them in hospital, and they are getting treatment, and in the rescue centers also getting treatment so that we rescue them from dying. So almost 350 of them are there. So that is a good sign that we say we're able to intervene, and then the hospitals and then Lona are now helping us, and the rescue centers.
The customary initiation bill that is aimed at legislating traditional initiation, how far is it? Where is it now?
Well, it has been revived in the 6th administration by the National Council of Provinces. It happened in the National Assembly, it's done, and then the NCOP have just revived it. They will be going through hearings, provincial mandates, as the law dictates that those consultations must happen. If we don't do that, it becomes unconstitutional. So they have to passage it through, and I so wish and hope that by June, the law will be there, because the president is eagerly waiting for the law to come to him for signature. But if parliamentary process delays, obviously we're delaying to save their lives, because that one is going to help us a lot in stemming the authority on anything that
I
is
wanted
illegal.
to come to that point. How is it going to help remedy the situation that we're facing when it comes to initiation schools in South Africa?
Well, we hope therefore it has a deterrent mechanism to say if you open an illegal school or you illegally initiate boys in the household or somewhere alone, 5 or 3 of them, whoever does that, irrespective, then it's a charge on itself. And with a sentence of minimum 5 years, even if there's no death and even if there's no incident, but if we can find you, then we know that there's a charge, we may be sentenced to 5 years in prison. And we will also have to help the police when we operationalize the law to have special task forces, particularly for the Western Cape for now, and any other province that might give us difficulties into the future, so that we could then have this special force that then uses the law now, or the might of the law, to go and to deal with wrongdoing. But we must, at the same time as government, come up with conscientization, publicity, and go to the schools, to school clubs, to communities, talk to the young people, the do's and the don'ts on this one. If you are underage, don't rush to the schools. Don't go to illegal people, because that's where you die.
But shouldn't we be having those conversations with the traditional leaders and the teachers?
All the traditional leaders, most of the traditional leaders areas, I must say, there is still control. The problem is the urbanization, where completely there's loss of control by traditional leaders. Is the municipality spaces that is dominated by municipalities. We have to bring municipalities on board, and the new law is encouraging municipalities to be involved in this, because currently the law absolves municipalities. Unfortunately, that's why we brought them into the new law, that wherever in the municipality space, if you find these people, bylaws must be effected, and then we need to deal with those particular issues and ensure therefore that there's an authority. If the traditional leader doesn't exist in that area, the authority will be the municipality together with the parents and the communities.
All right, so for now we just hope for the best. We hope that that customary initiation bill is signed into law before the next initiation season in winter.
I so wish, I hope the members of the National Council of Provinces and provinces, which will be giving them mandates, are listening, and the agency of the law, it's upon us.
And Peter and I were having this discussion of air to say that we're reporting on a number of deaths, but you get boys who lose their private parts due to surgery that goes wrong at initiation schools, and they constitute a large number as well.
Well, the number is quite scary. The last time we did a count with the former Minister of Health, Dr. Zweli, we were counting around 400 to 800.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. We have
the future
lost,
destroyed right there.
Definitely destroyed. And that's why the University of Stellenbosch came up with some replacement. But I'm not sure it's very expensive for the poor people because most of these boys come from poor families. And those who can afford, they can do it, but not everybody can afford it, the transplant. And then therefore, they commit suicide, unfortunately, because over a period when the adulthood and the period of
it becomes traumatic for them.
Comes for them, then they just felt they're not men enough. And then they then commit suicide in universities because they will be at the university level at the time.
But I think the question is, are we ever going to win this battle on the deaths and the surgeries that go wrong at initiation schools? Because it now looks like, DM, you and I are always sitting here during this time. We'll be back in winter discussing the very same problem.
We will win the battle if Limpopo was able to do it with the help of the medical doctors. Mpumalanga is winning it with the help of the medical doctors. And they don't do it in Sama, the two provinces. Eastern Cape can learn from the two provinces and really begin to change the attitude and then begin to review and look at it, adapt because climate change is here and then global warming is here, and really allow. We are not interfering, we just say medical doctors must be on site. And we have even said to the traditional, it must be boys who come from the initiations, or men now, who are now doctors who come from the initiation, be the one that are allowed because it's a sacred, that particular activity, so that they know because they have been from the mountain. And those doctors have been willing and offering their help. They are ready to move into the Eastern Cape to work with the traditional leaders. But unfortunately, the traditional leaders in the Eastern Cape are not united around this issue. But we hope they Indaba, therefore, it will be one of the subject matter to say, do we allow you to continue killing our children or what? Because we cannot then use culture to kill any other person. Culture is there to build a nation.
It really is very concerning. Just last week when we were having the persistent rains here, I think it was in Botshabelo, east of Bloemfontein, a number of initiates were rescued by a helicopter because the area where the initiation school was flooded with water. They really had to go up the trees in order to save their own lives. So it goes back to the issue of who makes sure that wherever the school is, the area is, should I say, conducive.
Yes, definitely. That's why we said the new law, the municipalities will have to get involved. Anyone who establishes a school must get permission from the municipality. Areas will be designated where you get pointed, where not to establish and where not to, where to establish. And in that way, there will be monitoring, because once you apply, then the monitors will be able to monitor. Parents, or particularly the uncles or the fathers, when a child is in the initiation, it is your role to visit them daily as men and fathers of the homes to check that your son or your nephew is indeed in good hands. And don't just drop the child and then disappear, because then if there's anything wrongdoing, it's you parents who must report that this owner of the school is not doing the right thing.
We'll leave the discussion at this. Hopefully, I won't see you during the winter season. But thank you so much.
I hope so, Palisa. I just wish it happens that way.
Thank you so much for coming through, and Merry Christmas and all the best for the new year.
Okay, festive season to all your viewers.
All right. Deputy Minister Obed Bapela, responsible for the Department of Traditional Affairs, talking to us about a number of initiates who have already lost their lives. And as the DM says, it's 22 in the Eastern Cape, 1 in the Western Cape, and 1 in the Northwest province. The question is, when will all of this end?